politics. We talk about the MPP internal election. If you're aware, Dr. Bawumia has declared his intention to contest the party's presidential slot again. Kennedy Agyapong is also in there, as well as Brian Echampo, Dr. Brian Echampo. They've all declared their intentions to lead the MPP into the 2028 general election. Kennedy Agyapong was in the Ashanti region over the weekend. He makes some few statements. If you listen to Eyewitness, we brought you some of the things that he said in the Ashanti region, where the Bawumia camp is really unhappy with some of the things that he said in Mampo in the Ashanti region. Tonight on Point Blank, we speak to Kwesi Kwarteng. He's a former spokesperson to the Ministry of Education. He's a private legal practitioner now and speaks for Kennedy Agyapong, one of the contenders in the last MPP presidential primary, who has also declared his intentions to run again to lead the party in the 2028 general election. Kwesi, good evening. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, my brother Sammy, and good evening to your viewers. I must add good evening to our viewers and listeners.
Yes, yeah.
It's important to add viewers because of
YouTube,
the YouTube and social media.
Yeah. But how's your boss, Kennedy Agyapong?
He's doing so well. So far, so good. We are still engaging, talking to people. You know, politics is a game of numbers. You have to sell your vision, you have to sell your ideas, you have to convince your people. But I mean, it's also important to add that as at now, officially, we've not, the party, based on the party's guidelines and regulations, we've not officially opened the space for proper campaigns. So
he's been meeting party people.
You know, I mean, there's nothing barring that when you go for a funeral and party people decide to come and greet you.
That's another form of campaigning.
Well, I mean, we may not be disputing that, but I mean, if that is a logic, then as well everybody is campaigning. Not about me. I was in London meeting party people. He went for thank you to meeting party people. He meets party people at funerals, and not only Dr. Bawumia. I'm sure other people or other hopefuls who also have interest in also contesting as well be meeting party people. You see, the whole point about I mean, living a politically exposed life certainly will expose you to party people, and I think the point has to do with not campaigning when you meet them, but there is nothing barring or banning anyone
having
having engagement with them. But I think the bar has to do with engaging for the purposes of campaign. I'm a party person. Even when I entered your studio, I met other party people that I know them. It doesn't mean that because maybe I may have any intention or...
No, party people, you know, that as in outside people who came to meet you because you are coming here.
I mean, there is nothing wrong if even in your studios there are people who may be affiliated to party or party B. The fact that I meet you and engage you for the purposes of this conversation, irrespective of which party you belong to, assuming without even admitting that you belong to my party, there is nothing wrong with it. But what the guidelines? What? No. I mean, are you talking about journalists?
But here we don't show party colors here.
I mean, city
is a professional environment.
City is doing so well, and I'm saying that I may know I'm just using hypothetically for the purpose of this discussing. I may know you to be a party member of party A or party B. It's completely different when I come and meet you in your studios. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that the fact that you are doing your work professionally does not necessarily negate the fact that you may also be a party person. I go to court, I meet party people. I go to church, I meet party people. So that in itself, the whole idea of meeting party people or engaging party people, there is nothing unethical or nothing wrong with that. I think what the party fronts upon is meeting them for the purposes of campaigning.
Why does your boss want to be president?
I mean, certainly to develop the country. You see, let me give you some statistics. If you read data from the World Bank, for instance, the World Bank estimates and projects that just 2030, your 2030 is about 5 years from now, right? If you look at developing economies, for instance, there will be about 1.2 billion people who will be looking for jobs. And out of this 1.2 billion people looking for jobs, there will be about 800 million of them who will look for jobs and they will not even get it in the first place because those jobs are non-existent. About 400,000 people will get jobs. Of course, when I refer to developing economies, Ghana is also inclusive. Then you may even want to narrow the statistics down even beyond the worldwide concept or the worldwide view and come to Ghana. For instance, if you look at the Ghana Statistical Service, for instance, it says that if you take any percentage, like 100 out of any 100 people, 80 of them that are working are underpaid. You are looking at they taking a salary not more than 3,000 Ghana cedis. Of course, if you want to even juxtapose it, how they are living, paying rent, school fees, fixing car and whatever, certainly people are literally living, on survivor, not necessarily on any decent basis. Then the remaining 20% are living in abject poverty. These statistics is very scary, isn't it? And if you also want to even deepen the statistics further, I have read researches from Professor Kakari and other researchers who says that if every batch completes a national service, it takes a minimum of 10 years for half of that batch to get permanent employment. The remaining half will still be searching. And other researchers have also stated that out of every 12 people that graduate from university, the state is only able to employ just 2 of them. So we are literally sitting on a time bomb. The American dreams, the UK dreams that people are living, it is not, or it is almost impossible to live a Ghanaian dream decently. And I'm sure that is even the root cause of all these, issues and news of corruption that we hear. Because at the end of the day, people have to engage in some of, even though not justifiable, it's almost becoming like a means of survival. President Kufuor put it very succinct when he said that if we pretend to be paying workers, they also pretend to be working. And indeed, they will also be pretending to even be having a decent form of livelihood by natural sense they may be taking from the state coffers. So this is what Kennedy Agyapong represents at a crucial time like this, giving a hindsight of all these statistics that I've given. It is about time that we have to really tackle our unemployment. Of course, like you indicated, there's not time for campaign, but also not shy away of his broader vision, where it is about time that you need somebody whose life, his conduct, everything that he stood for has been about creating jobs, entrepreneurship, and whatever. Because clearly you are aware that his adult life has been more of job creation. As of now, he's recruited about 7,000 people. Within the next year, with the new factories coming up, the Ashanti Sea factory, the cherry tomato factory, and other factories coming up, he's also going to employ 10,000 people. So somebody who has been able to demonstrate that within this space that he's had to live as a man, certainly has been able to provide jobs in excess of 7,000, and is also promising to add about 10,000 people. I'm sure, coupled with the character traits and the leadership traits that he has, he's bold, he's not timid, he's assertive, he's very passionate, he's disciplined at a crucial time like this. At a time where, as a country, we missed out on the first industrial revolution, the second industrial revolution, we didn't take advantage, the third industrial revolution, up to the fourth, we didn't take advantage of it. We need that kind of a leader who can leapfrog us into development, where we can also compete with the rest of the world.
How do you react to people who say that it's not too early for the MPP to be thinking about getting a leader for 2028, because the government of John Mahama is just 6 months old? The last election was, a couple of months. Ghanaians are still angry with the MPP, hence the outcome that we saw in the last election. So settle down, resolve all internal issues, and even think before you think about 2028.
Yeah, they are not entirely wrong. They are also not entirely right. But ultimately, we'll still get a leader, and getting a leader is not an event. It requires some process. It's natural when you are in opposition. Some of these commentaries will come. It's very synonymous with parties in opposition. But whichever way, we just have to be decorum, preach unity, and come together. Even the whole events rolling out is also part of the processes in even fostering unity amongst the party. Sometimes you may feel that somebody has gone haywire, there has been excesses. It's a phase. When you come to opposition, it's a phase that you also move through. So they are not entirely wrong, but bottom line is that everything happening is also part of the processes of even coming together. And I want to also even commend particularly the two predominant forces in terms of Dr. Bawumia and Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, who has all been preaching peace, who has all been preaching unity for the party, that we all must come together. Because, I recall when we went to Takrade, for instance, the Honorable Kennedy Agyapong was very succinct when he put it that if there is no unity and peace in the party, even if we bring Jesus Christ, he cannot win us power. So I agree, I perfectly agree. But everything happening, we must also put it in the right context, in the right perspective. That the kind of humiliating defeat that we had, certainly there will be some level of jitteriness, there will be some level of resentment, there will be a level of blame game. But ordinarily, I expected that even at the earlier stage, leadership would have demonstrated responsibility, say that, well, enough is enough. I take responsibility for everything. We went to this election. We apologize for things that went wrong. We apologize for things that maybe we expected should have been but it didn't happen.
But Dr. Bawumia has been doing his thank you tour, apologizing to party people and Ghanaians in general. You've all heard it?
I mean,
you haven't heard it?
Oh, I mean, it would be very hypocritical on my part to say I have not heard it. But other people have also raised concerns about some form of blame shifting and blame game, which came earlier, which I felt was avoidable. But I mean, I would be very hypocritical on my part to say that I've not heard, even though people feel that part of taking responsibility came in late. But I'm sure it's not only Dr. Bawumia that has even made similar calls. Every other person, even including Agyapong himself, has also even apologized on behalf of the party, taking responsibility and said that, look, I mean, whichever way, we are one great party. Some of these things happened. We went into an election. Unfortunately, our expectations were not met. But we have to come together in one accord, in one voice, and move on.
Your party, the New Patriotic Party, has a history when it comes to election of presidential candidates.
Yes.
A candidate is always given another chance to lead the party in a major election. So people make examples of J. Kufuor, who went twice before winning the 2000 election, and Akufo-Addo 3 times before winning the 2026 election. So if the Bawumia camp is pushing for another chance for Dr. Bawumia to run again on the party's ticket, why is your boss making those statements he made in Mampong?
First of all, it looks like people already have some form of prejudice against statements that are made or that come from the Honorable Kennedy Agyapong.
Really?
Yes, other than that, what Kennedy sought to do was to give a historical context to a statement that Dr. Bawumia himself has already explained, has already even made in the public space. Recall that it was Dr. Bawumia who advanced this argument, of course, given the historical antecedent of the party, and lay claim that President Kufuor was given the opportunity to go twice. And of course, Mr. President Akufo-Addo also had the opportunity to go 3 times. Except to say that there was also another leg of the conversation of the history that we felt that he also maybe should have brought it up. But of course, I mean, he's a politician. It is natural that even when you are interpreting data or when you are making any statistical analysis, sometimes you can interpret it so that it may also support the case that you are making. So, I mean, we respect that. But when Kennedy met some of party executives in Mampong, he felt that there was also an opportunity for him to throw broader light and put a very wide scope and proper context to what Dr. Bawumia said. That is where he brought in that, yes, it's true, what Dr. Bawumia said is true, but there has always been a caveat to that precedent, and that caveat is on performance. And he cited the instance of President Kufuor, that despite the fact that President Kufuor had a very short period of campaigning, I think there has been contention about the number of months that he had to campaign.
Yeah.
We see, it is true, undeniable, that President Kufuor's election the primaries was in April 1996. But common sense and basic logic will tell you that when you are elected after primary, certainly you have to look for your vice presidential candidate, assuming without even admitting that it took about 4 months. April to plus 4 months will give you around August, September. So it is not out of place if Kennedy Agyapong, as part of his argument, said that Kufuor had a very short period of campaigning, yet still was able to make a significant mark of 39%, very historic. And on that basis, the party people felt like it was commendable. The signs were great, and for that matter, they needed to push him again. And indeed, the second time he had the opportunity of becoming the president of Ghana in the year 2001. Yes, out of the 2000 elections, and then also that of President Akufo-Addo. Context is always important when you're having discussions like this. In the case of, for instance, Dr. Bawumia, he has had the opportunity more or less to project himself for about 16 years, right? For when he was the vice presidential candidate for 8 years.
He was vice presidential candidate. He wasn't the main candidate.
Yeah, I mean,
he's been the main candidate only once, which is 2024.
Yes, but I mean, whichever way, when I became the spokesperson of the Ministry of Education, it was a platform. Even if I was not so intentional about projecting myself, my work alone should speak for me.
Sure.
I'm sure it was even on this basis that I have had the opportunity to be speaking with you on this platform. So whichever way, Dr. Bawumia had the opportunity of projecting himself, whether it was intentional or not, as a vice presidential candidate. Then he became vice president for also 8 years, right? That is cumulatively about 16 years. Then also had the opportunity to also even run in the main primaries and the elections itself. Now juxtapose that to also President Akufo-Addo, who's at the time the highest office that President Akufo-Addo has ever occupied in the history of our country was a minister of state. Yes, still. Do you know the outcome of President Akufo-Addo's election? President Akufo-Addo's popularity alone was able to traject the party and push us into a runoff, to the extent that we lost the election at time with 23,000 votes. Same cannot be said about 1.7 million votes. So Kennedy Agyapong's foundation that he was building was that with all the history that Dr. Bawumia has laid and emphasized, the context is that at every point, the party people, the ordinary party foot soldiers, the polling station executives, they look at performance. And so Dr. Bawumia was right. But the other leg is that the context or the caveat is that, yes, you are given a second chance when you perform. And very finally, I think it's also important to also add that in the case of Professor Dubois, for instance, he was not given a second chance. You recall,
but the counter argument on that, which I've heard a lot of people on the Bawumia come say that election wasn't a proper election per se.
Oh, there is some election.
The 92 election really, switching from military rule to democracy. That election wasn't.
Should that not have even been the main reason why the party people should have even given a second chance? Because they felt that election was not even a proper election, and for that matter, Professor couldn't have been held liable for any loss or the humiliating defeat that the party had. Yes, though, the party people felt that, well, you went and your records were not impressive, your performance were not impressive, and this is about data. Dr. Bawumia is a man of data. Which actually appears that when it comes to data on his performance,
but you know very well that every first-time candidate of the MPP has never won a major election. You know that, right?
Yes, each election has its own dynamics. I agree, but each election also has its dynamics, especially within our circumstance where you can project the next dynamics. And with the 2028 dynamics, it is very certain that the NDC is also going to bring a fresh candidate, right? Again, despite the fact that MPP has never had a candidate who had even won once, we've also had a precedent where in Ghana, 2 presidents in their first attempt had won for the first time. Reference can be made to President Dramani Mahama, who won for the first time, President Rawlings, who won for the first time. So you also have to look at the realities of the moment, the mood of the nation, what Ghanaians are calling for, what the party people are calling for. I mean, at a time where people believe that the trust, the confidence that they have in the career politicians is eroding. I mean, can we also make a case of somebody we believe is pragmatic, somebody we believe is not weak, somebody we believe is disciplined, somebody we believe is passionate? Can we also make a case for that? So yes, we also have to situate this and balance it or juxtapose it with the realities that each election also presents. Yes, it is true MPP has never presented a candidate that maybe for the first time has won. But in Ghana, we also had 2 candidates that has won for the first time. And again, me sitting here as an MPP who is a member of the MPP who is in opposition, as soon as we advance that argument and that logic, what it essentially means is that I probably have to wait for the next 8 to 12 years before the party comes into power again, which I'm not ready for. Based on the extension of the history and the logic that we are advancing. If we have to go by that, I probably have to wait for the next 8 to 12 years. And I'm not sure. I have the opportunity, by the grace of God, I'm quite young. Even in the next 12 years, I'll be quite still younger. But there are a lot of people who were literally opposition members, even though we're in government. For the past 8 years, they complained that they had nothing. I'm sure it's also even one of the reasons why they voted against or they do not go and vote. Assuming such a person is 50 years now, the next 12 years, he'll be 62, retire from civil service, and may not even reap the benefit of the sacrifices that he made to the party. And I mean, to be very realistic and not mincing ways, politics, even unlike religious activities, you require benefit. Not even necessarily religious activity, but I mean, there is always interest in everything. Even in doing good, we do good to look good. So certainly, I must reap the work that I put in as a party person.
That's all listening to Eyewitnesses, and this is Point Blank. My guest is Kwesi Kwarteng. He speaks for Kennedy or Agyapong, former member of parliament for the Asin Central constituency, and one of the aspirants hoping to lead the MPP into the 2028 general election. Kwesi, we have some 3 minutes to wrap up the conversation. But then, how do you react to people who say that in this contest is going to be different compared to the previous one before the 2028 election, where a lot of people have accused or have said that Dr. Bawumia enjoyed incumbency advantage because he was a sitting vice president. This time around is going to be different. But the Bawumia campaign people say that, you know, he's beaten Kennedy before, and it's possible he can beat him again to lead the party in 2028.
I mean, it's natural to expect such remarks from them. Nobody goes into an election with the mentality that he's going to lose, except that the reality does not support some of these claims. Today I saw a newspaper publication from Observer newspaper where the content was, I mean, something that is quite intriguing for all of us to discuss. It says that, for instance, if you look at President Akufo-Addo, who was one of the backbones of Dr. Bawumia today, he's also defected camp, and other close allies who are also working very seriously for Dr. Bawumia in the last elections are also not there. For instance, Dr. Brian Champong kindly does not even believe in the Bawumia agenda again, to the extent that he himself has even taken a position to also contest. My former boss, who I always say he's still my boss because once a soldier, always a soldier. Of course. Dr. Yosef, which is also contesting.
Who was considered as a running mate.
Running mate to Dr. Bawumia. Today is also contesting him. Mr. Patrick Bawumia, Honorable Patrick Bawumia. He was very key and instrumental in Dr. Bawumia's campaign, but today he also wants to run against him.
But he's not publicly come out to say that.
But I mean, those of us who are party people, we are privy to this information. And I'm even hearing that of Agyapong. So clearly, you should know that some of these claims and remarks that are being laid by the Bawumia team may not necessarily be supported by the facts on the grounds. But I mean, we are one party. We can only wish them the best. I am supporting Kennedy Agyapong on just one basis, that I am fully convinced, like many young people.
You think he can win the MPP election?
The general election, yes.
Because I heard him say that Ghanaians are asking him.
Yeah, Kennedy has it.
Which Ghanaians are these? He did the research. You guys did the research to know that Ghanaians are calling on him or yearning for him to be the next president or lead the MPP in 2028.
So I mean, they say engineering come from home. I'm sure you will know better because you are a journalist. But of course, some of these things, yeah, it will be based on researches. It will be based on the mood of the nation. It will be based on how the public respond to those the candidates who are all availing themselves. So, I mean, you don't need a soothsayer to tell you, for instance, Mr. Mohammed's performance now. They are objective realities, where I can say that if I do A, the outcome should be B. They are objective realities, and we are also mindful of the factors that also affected us in the last election, where we believe that some of them may be entrenched, may not even change in the subsequent election. I don't want to go into the details of it, but we believe that in terms of these factors, Kennedy Agyapong may not suffer from them. You see, sometimes it may not necessarily be about whether or not the candidate is wrong or a good candidate, but sometimes it has more to do with the circumstances surrounding the candidate and the time or seasons that the candidate is also coming.
The timing is always important.
The timing is always very important, and we are of the view that at a crucial time like this, based on the background that I gave to you, how the growing apathy amongst the youth. For instance, let's even end on the economy debate. The economy, we did well for the past 6 years. The last 2 years, we are aware that things did not go well. Assuming Mr. Mahama, for instance, is able to perform so creditably well on the economic sector, for instance, a rather cast an aspersion, not even only on Dr. Bawumia, but even the MPP as a party, right? Even though nobody expects that he doesn't perform, because whatever happens affects us. So you also have to look at the timing, the exigencies of the moment, the realities surrounding each election and the dynamics, and know that, well, at a crucial time like this, the people or this candidate may be more appealing to the people. And I am of the view that it's just like the running mate issue. When Dr. Bawumia wanted to select his running mate, I have a good relationship with Dr. Opoku Prempeh. Of course, Dr. Yaduchum is also my boss. But in terms of national appeal, it was in
50 seconds, because we went out of time.
In terms of national appeal, it was open to all of us that Dr. Aduchum had a national appeal, but did not have a party appeal, and the vice versa with Dr. Napu as well. So within this context, clearly you can see that when it comes to national appeal, when you go to the market, the people that they are calling for, the person that they are all calling for, is the Honorable Kennedy Agyapong.
Kwesi, we'll have more of this conversation as the internal election for the MPP, comes up, waiting for the party to, set up a date or set a date for all this. And I'm sure we'll engage more on these matters.
Sure.
This is where we bring the curtains to an end on today's edition of Eyewitness News. My guest on Point Blank was Kwesi Kwarteng. He speaks for Kennedy Agyapong, former member of parliament for the Asin Central constituency, one of the contenders in the MPP presidential primaries to lead the party in the 2028 general election. My name is Sami Uyafe, and this is Eyewitness News, the show produced by Beverly Landing, Juliana Odame. Good night.